Hi everyone, welcome back to Java 1 for All. In this video we are going to talk about methods overloading. Before we move on, let's close everything because we are going to create a new package, a new topic. Over Java core, right click, package, now it's C, method overloading. And let's keep the same pattern. Let's create a new package here called domain. And let's create a new class inside domain, and let's call this class anime. Now let's start the same way as we always do. First we need some attributes. For this one, let's create two attributes. One called type, string. Type of anime usually is a manga or a TV, so we know that we can create this privately. And the next one will be episodes. Okay, so we know that we have these two attributes. If we want to give access and retrieve the value from memory, we need to create getters and setters. I will create manually so we can get a little bit more used to getters and setters. So first set, same type as we have declared on line 4, and then this.type equals type. And now get, we are going to return the type, so it is a string, no parameters, and return this.type. Same thing for age. Oh, sorry, episodes. I used so many times age that kind of got stuck. And the get integer, because we are going to return now episodes. These dot episodes and return. Okay, so basically everything that we have been doing, just creating a domain class represented animes. Now we are going to create the test package, new package, remove domain, and change it to type. Same thing. Let's create a new class, alt insert Java class, and let's call it anime test 01. So far probably we are on what 57 videos. You memorized how to do this. We need a reference variable, and we need to create a new object using new keyword. And if we want to set up the values, set type TV, and then anime.set episodes, let's say 12 episodes. Okay, now how do we get this? Well, we could either use get or create a print method. So let's go back to anime and let's create here. So as you can see, I'm following like this pattern. First attributes, and then I have getters and setters. And if I have any method that is not getter or setter, I'm going to put under the attributes. This is a pattern that's widely used. You'll see that these will be at the bottom of the class because they are not as important as any method that's going to be in between. So in this case, print, and same thing. And going back to test. Okay, so Ctrl Shift F10. So far so good. We have TV and 12, and there we have the first thing that will probably happen when you start working. The business manager or the business analyst or the PO, someone above you will come, okay, we have a change in the requirement and we need to add something else. What is something else? We need to add a new attribute. Now the name. And then you go over all the process. So when you are adding something, you have to be careful. Is this going to break the existing code or not? So let's see. We need to add a name. Name will be string. And well, same thing. Since the name usually is the first thing we want to see, let's add here. The order doesn't really matter. Now we need the same thing, getters and setters. The order also doesn't matter. I could set at the end, but just following what I have here. And get name. So nothing's breaking. Every piece of code that we have is still working. We of course have a problem that the name will be null. So let's execute. So as you can see, the name is null. Why? Because remember, we have the full initialization values and reference type is null. Now we could change something here. For example, let's add at the beginning here. Let's see, add a new one, a very nice one. If you are plus 17 years old, I recommend it. Okay, so as you can see, we are adding new stuff, but by the fact that we were adding a new value here, it didn't break the entire code. So it means that if we had other people running this code, it would just keep working. Now it's something that you have to be careful, because sometimes you are working in different companies at the same time. I mean, in a sense that sometimes you have, for example, I live in the Netherlands, but I used to have clients in the United States. And for example, for me now, as you can see, it's 7 p.m. But my customers, they were in California. So imagine if I do something that's going to break their code, and they will start working there the day it's just starting, basically, and they will have to figure out what happened, why their code is not working. So the chances that they will probably call me and I have to work at night, it's pretty high. So that's why you have to be careful when you are changing something to not break the code. So we are adding new stuff. It didn't break. Well, we had to be careful with the attribute being printed null, but we could add one if, and we could check that. Okay, so basically now everything, it's okay. But there are some improvements we can do here. For example, we are adding here 3 lines to just put values inside this object. Now, you can see here that the set name, set type, and set episodes are basically just methods. And we know that we can send more than one parameter. So basically just go to the anime, and let's think about something we can do here to make our code cleaner. Now we know that we can get more than one argument, more than one parameter. So what if we do this? Public, I just want to initialize the object, so I'm not going to return anything, and I'll call this init. And I'll ask the same values that I need here to have my anime working. So basically, name, type, and then episodes. Now we do the same as we did for the set methods. This.name, this.type, and this.episodes. So now that we have one method with 3 parameters, we can initialize this entire object with one call. So basically now, anime.init, and then we can send. As you can see here, IntelliJ is telling us. So if you all ever miss this hint, you can press Ctrl P, as you can see down here. Now I have the name, and then the type, and number of episodes. So now you can see gray. This gray name, type, and episodes is just IntelliJ telling us these are the name of the parameters declared in this method init. So now I can remove lines 9, 10, and 11 because the initialization is being done in one method. If I execute Ctrl Shift F10, you will see that we have the same result. So basically now we can do everything with one call, and we are saving 3 lines. But then life is not that simple. Your manager calls again and he wants something else. No, he wants, for example, a new attribute. Well, let's call this attribute status. It will be string. So basically, he wants to know if the enemy is still airing or if it's a finished kind of informations that you can display in one app. Well, let's go over everything again, but this time I will rely on IntelliJ. So Alt, insert, getter and setter, status, and then we come here. We can add it at the end. So we can just duplicate this line and change it to status. And if we execute now, of course, status is a reference type. It will get null, so just run. And we will probably say, well, we can just come here and add one attribute, status. And then this status equals status. Well, as you can see, the guys in California are not that happy at all. Why? Because they just started working and then they will have to figure out why it's not working. Okay, it's pretty simple. Just have to add one tiny little attribute at the end here. But well, sometimes when you are working with distributed teams and you have more than one, let's say that we have a piece of code that's shared across 3 or 4 other systems, well, things can get complicated pretty fast. Basically, what's the best scenario here? The best scenario is to create another method. So basically, we just copy and we go back this one to the state it was before we started breaking everything. And as you can see now, everything is working again. Now, we do have one problem here that you probably didn't realize. Actually, this is not a problem. It's just IntelliJ caching something. So, Wayne, how did you do that? You have the same name, but you have the code working. So this problem is actually not a problem, and it's very, very, very annoying. Let me see if I close this. There you go. So it's working. You just changed and you copied the entire code and it's working. And this is what is called overloading. So overloading in Java, it follows this rule. You need to have exactly the same name, letter by letter, in this case init and init, but the parameters, they need to follow one of these 2 rules. Either they have different types or they have different amount, that they have the quantity of the parameters are different. In this case, we have 3 here and we have 4 here. Again, overloading is when you have a method with the same name, but the parameters, they are either different in quantity or the types of the parameters, they are different. Basically, we just have to tell the JVM that there is a way for itself figure out how to call init. So for example, here we are sending 3 parameters, string, string, and integer. Basically, it will come here. Okay, so what method I have here that we have exactly string, string, and integer? Basically, it will go to line number 9. And then if we change something here, so if you go at the top or just at the beginning of the init and you press Ctrl P, you'll see that now we have 2 options because we are overloading. So we have name, type, and episodes, or we can call the same method passing name, type, episodes, and status. And if I pass here status, actually this one is finished. We will have everything working perfectly fine. So remember, the rule is either the amount of parameters are different or their type, and the name needs to be exactly the same. What about the public, the access modifier and the return type? Basically, they do not matter. The rules of overloading is only the name and the parameters. So the name must be the same, and the parameters, they must have either a different amount of parameters, or the type of the parameters need to be different if they have the same amount. So if we had 3, the types should be enough for Java identify which one to call. So basically, it took us 15 minutes to get to the point where I wanted to explain. That's method overloading. But then we have another problem. Imagine how we can improve whatever we have here. Can you see that from line 10, 11, 12, we are doing the same thing? So basically, this init method is doing the same thing as this one. So why not use the same attributes that I have here, and instead of duplicating the lines, you just tell, hey, just when you start executing this init method, just call this one. And this is what we're going to do. Basically, before you start everything, you want to have these values initialized. You call this dot init, and you can see here, we can call passing name, type, and episodes. Now I'll put a breakpoint here and here, because from here we are calling the one with 4 parameters. So let's execute with Shift F9. So can you see that we have now this line, and we don't have any value in memory yet. Basically, these values here, the object values, the class attributes, they are empty. So now I'm going to get this init to execute this one. So if I press F8, you'll see, okay, so now I will get this name, type, and episodes, and we'll start putting data inside the class attributes. You'll see that this will change if I press F8 again. So it changed again, and it changed again. And now that this init method is finished, it will go back and finish changing the status. And now we have the entire object filled. I press F9 to finish and just move on, and we have exactly the same result. So for this video, that's it. You just have to remember that for method overloading, the name should be the same, must be the same, but the attributes, they either have different types or the amount of parameters that are different. So I hope you enjoyed. It was a pretty long class, but we spoke about one topic in one video. So I see you in the next one. Bye.